All right, this is our peer review of case study number 2. Question number 1, what guidelines could Donna have provided for the teachers prior to the grade level meetings?
One of the guidelines that I felt that Donna could have provided was the expectations of the different grade level meetings. Um, that was a big takeaway for me.
I think it could have been more goal oriented, and she could have maybe expressed their mission.
I felt the same way, or that they could have worked together to provide some sort of like common presentation to get buy-in from the teachers that they were going to meet with and why they were doing it.
I agree. I also think she should, I think she could have provided some examples for them to pick from so that they would know exactly what she was looking for. And I think she could have and probably should have referred to the research that she was talking about.
Good point.
I agree with you there, Penny, by her providing some form of list or some kind of something visual so she can take back to them so they would know what was required. Because my main focus was having some type of ethical guidelines because, once again, the teachers, don't want to feel that they are being attacked or targeted in their form of their evaluation. So there could have been another form of just, a communication guideline here that she needed to have with her staff.
I agree.
I agree too. I agree with the guidelines. Kind of letting the staff know where she's going, with the guidelines and everything. Of course, the approach is, very important. Like you said, no one people feel like they're being attacked. Kind of let them know where they're going. Some kind of map to, how we're gonna get to these guidelines and why we're doing what we're doing.
Exactly.
Yes. All right, question 2. How could the teacher's final plans be effective for the instructional process?
I just included like using the results of the evaluations for purposeful planning. Just something, maybe another component they're just adding in why they're working in their PLCs.
Because some of the different grade levels, like kindergarten had an outstanding, some of the other grades had a satisfactory, and to kind of pull a little something from each one of those, and even third grade, even though those are veteran teachers, I like the videotaping of the lesson. So they all had something to contribute. It would have been good to see it just come together in one thing.
I agree, but I also think that if the teachers take this opportunity seriously, that it could improve their instruction. And it would give them the opportunity to reflect objectively, especially with the videos, and take ownership of their instruction. Because, a lot of times when you get an observation, I didn't do that. When, yes, you did. And you can look at that video and go back, I really did do that. And 2, sometimes teachers tend to be more nervous when they know that administration's in our classroom observing them, and they may have a beautiful lesson plan, but nerves tend to make you forget what you were going to say and what you were going to do, and then you realize it 10 minutes after the fact, oh, that's why that's not going good. So I think this opportunity gives the teachers a leadership opportunity.
I also think it helps the people that are observing them, because I think it gives them, like, I know for myself, I love to go and watch other teachers that are teaching my same content, because it gives me so many ideas of how I can do it differently that sometimes I don't see when it's just me researching different plans. So I think it's beneficial to go and watch other people, especially that are in your grade level.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree.
I agree too.
I think, and like Sarah said, I like to go observe other teachers too. And I think it's more effective because when it's an administrator, it's someone who's been out of the classroom for a while, or in some cases have never been in the classroom, and they're not, I think if you're a teacher, you're teaching it at the same time you're observing someone, you see it from a different perspective, and it's more, your feedback, I feel like, is more intentional instead of just checking off boxes, and you're like, well, I taught this yesterday, and I can see where she's coming from, or why she taught it this way, or vice versa. So I just think the feedback is going to be more intentional versus someone who has not even been in the classroom in, say, 5 or 6 years, or even longer. So,
I agree.
I agree, because that's what I have kind of just focus on. And as I was writing down, trying to answer these questions, but I'm really, my main focus just went on with the pre-K, kindergarten, and the first graders, because I like that they are observing one another. But the main was really got me because they are providing that practical suggestion for improvement compared to the other grade levels in this case study. And mainly when you are observing someone, that's the main focus, is to go and look for areas to help to improve. And, if you can find area suggestions and provide resources for teachers for that area, to improve their teaching style, their teaching method, then we know that we're going to be able to get what student achievement will increase as well. Because the other grade levels, 2nd, 4th, and 5th grade, I really didn't understand that concept. It's one constructive comment and one positive comment. But if you're going to observe, that's all you're going to get, one constructive comment and one positive comment from an observation. Suppose you saw many more areas that was wrong, that needs improvement, but you're not going to provide them that, that feedback, as we're saying. So therefore, you're still leaving that gap there that teacher is not improving it in their teaching style, in their form of method. And we know the 3rd grade level teachers, they automatically, that this is just one way, they are not resulting to change. So basically everything is about providing that feedback. And when you give that feedback, make sure that you can be able to give valid ways or instructional strategies, how they can improve some areas that you see that, the teacher can improve in. Because the main focus is student achievement, trying to increase our student performance in the school.
I like what y'all was saying about observing other teachers, because we all know there's more than one way to get a point across with teaching different things. So I think that when you model and you watch, when other teachers are able to model just different ways to get point across, I know where, with this remote learning thing, I went and observed the teacher today because I wanted another way to get a point across, to be able to teach it differently, to make sure I'm reaching. I got 10 kids and I'm only reaching 6 of them. Sometimes there's another way to reach the other 4, so
right.
ways to kind of make sure I'm reaching all 10 of the kids, and reaching every kid and every different kind of learning style for each of my kids in the class. So I think observing other teachers help you learn different learning styles to get your point across in different kind of ways so that everybody can kind of meet at the same goal of understanding what the lesson is about.
I like how you touch on that, Antonia, because being a special ed teacher, that's something that we always try to share with our colleagues that are regular ed teacher, so they can be able to help the low performing students or the struggling students in their regular ed class. For every learning style, there has to be a teaching style to match to every learning style in order to see that growth of that gain in that student.
I agree. And I think too that even if you don't have the opportunity to go observe another teacher, just going and asking, what are you doing? What can I do to improve? Keep those lines of communication open amongst each other, and let your focal point be about the students across the school instead of what are you looking at me like that in my observation for, like 3rd grade class was doing. All right, question 3. How would the principal be able to evaluate whether the new observation format was working successfully for the students?
I said that the principal could compare formative data from before the observations to a date after whatever short-term or long-term goal they've decided on the action plan to see if it works, and compare and see if there's been a growth.
Yeah,
because if the teachers are reflecting on their strategies, then one would think it would help with
show
increasing
some
that growth.
improvement. That's pretty much what I had, Sarah. I said I thought the principal would see an increase in testing scores, fewer behaviors, and more engagement in the classroom. And I also think that the principal should still continue her walkthrough visits, their walkthrough visits, just to ensure that the new process is being used to fidelity and that there are improvements being made to instruction.
And Penny, I'm gonna piggyback off of you. I said through the walkthrough observations that they be continued. You know, and not so much looking at the teacher teaching, but looking at the students learning. Are they learning? How are they learning? And evidence of that. And then again, Sarah, what you said about the post-observation, you know, the teacher chats, we call them, where you sit down with the teacher, you talk about, you look at the data to see if gains are being made.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think it goes just like, you know, we just did in the AppTel part where we put the form in and kind of did the walkthrough, and you take that data that you get from the walkthroughs, like we did in the AppTel, to kind of figure out, you know, if the things that are, the things that they have been said they're going to do, if they're being done.
Right.
And we'll look at the data from the kids to see if their teaching is working. You know, from the data from where they're taking from the test scores and stuff, to kind of evaluate what steps are working, and then going back and trying to, you know, take those that's working and the things that are not working, and then change them to making sure that all of them are working.
Amen.
I'd say the same.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just saying the same thing about the student engagement, and also just seeing how maybe the adding more rigor into the lesson plans. Maybe this would give teachers who are excelling in one area to bring those teachers to them, and then just where that one teacher excels can help out the other teachers in maybe their weaker areas, and that essentially ultimately help the students.
And now, guys, I'm just going with what most of you guys been saying about the walkthrough observation, because I kind of think about how we do it in my school, but we take these walkthrough observations with all the administrators and do a compare analysis of the teacher as basis as you're looking back at the test scores, how well the students are performing, and have those administrators will come together to evaluate, analyze those walkthrough observations of the teachers and do some form of comparison so they can look at the gaps and trends what each one of the administrators has observed that may be different from another administrator, so they can go ahead and, you know, and close and you know, help that teacher in that area of improvement. So that was one thing that has been trying with me, sharing my information with the administrators, because we all are comparing our notes and our walkthroughs with our teachers so we can see what is missing, and so we can know we can just close that gap with that teacher, so we can also close the achievement gap with our students. So we got to provide them those resources and give them the awareness of what areas that they need to be improved in.
And I think one thing also that it would do, I think it's easier for teachers for self-reflection if they go to see someone else and then they can get ideas, as opposed to a teacher like I'm coming to you saying, I think you should do this better, because then they get offended. But if you go and observe another teacher and you say, oh, well, I see how she's teaching it, I wasn't able to move my students doing it my way, so I see this way. And it's just kind of like a reverse method. You're still getting it from the same teacher you probably would have got it initially, but you're getting it yourself, instead of, you know, anyone taking any type of offense and someone going and saying, you know, your scores are a little bit lower in this, maybe I can show you a couple of strategies. So it's kind of a way to you to come to your own, I guess, to change it on your own without having someone come. So I was just thinking about that when they were saying about the final plans.
And that's good, Tamika, because you know what, the whole point of us in our level of teacher is modeling, because we have to model the lesson to the students, and as well how we as teachers will learn from one another is by seeing them modeling. So that's, I think, one of the best instructional practice there.
Yeah, it's a win-win situation all the way around.
Yes.
And I would like to think that the observing teachers are being held accountable and having to turn in some type of observation checklist, and the suggestions that they made to administration, not so that they can point out, oh, you did this bad or you did this well, but it's just to hold them accountable and to keep things to fidelity. Fidelity keeps coming back to me because that's something we've heard a lot. I heard a lot this week in school. And also, I think it's important to do that so that you know that one teacher observing another doesn't use that opportunity to bash another teacher because I dislike your teaching style. We had a disagreement last week. You know, I think it helps hold everyone accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had done these in my last school, and we would actually do them. It's one takeaway and one thing you will leave. So it's not just I'm coming in here to see what you're doing wrong and how I can fix your classroom. You're just saying one thing that I'm going to give you, one thing that I'm going to take with me to take to my classroom, and it kind of leave a lot of areas. So like you said, we had disagreements. So I'm just coming in and giving you all, checking off everything, or I just don't like you, or for whatever reason, you just think I'm the better teacher. It kind of, like you said, holds you accountable. So you're not going in there for that. You're going with the purpose you're going to leave one thing and take one thing.
Yes, I like that.
The important thing is just the coaching part of the teachers. I don't want to be a thing where you're, criticizing the teacher. I mean, the most important thing is to coach the teachers, and try to figure out how to make the teachers better. So.
Well, and I think that could go back to number one, like you say, that when she comes in prior to these grade level meetings, what can they have prepared so that they're going in to build collective efficacy and let them know that we're doing this as a team and here is our common goal, not just as we're going in to see what you aren't doing.
Right.
I agree. Anyone have anything else that they would like to add? All right, that concludes our case study number 2.